Ladies and gentlemen, happy game week. It is here. It's the podcast daily. It is Ohio State and Notre Dame game week, the off-season training camp, winter workouts, spring ball. All of it has come led up to this, and it's finally over. The off-season is ending on Saturday in primetime. That's Bill Landis, Jeremy Birmingham. I am Austin Ward. This is the podcast daily. It is Monday, and we are closing in on kickoff. Guys, we made it. We're here.
Feel pretty good. Feel like I'm in game shape. Feel like it was a good camp for me. Think I'm ready to go for Saturday.
I feel like this has been the longest off season of my life as far as covering Ohio State. And I don't know if it's because the season, for all intents and purposes, ended in November, and it very rarely does anymore. I don't know if it's because I wasn't actually at the Rose Bowl covering that game in person, which I normally would be. But either way, it feels like this offseason has taken forever, and I'm glad it's over.
Feel like you left some details out there.
Yeah, I was going to say anything else happened in the offseason?
No, I mean, maybe, but I mean, I'm just glad that we're into game week, and we had football on the telly this weekend, and Austin won a big motor car race apparently. So everyone's just moving along, at super speeds here.
That's right. Huge.
Congrats on your big
morning.
W, though.
Yeah, thank you. Red Bull Racing, dominant performance in Spa on Sunday morning. But we don't need to worry about that. I mean, it's fun. We could break that down, but I don't think anybody wants us to do that.
We couldn't break that down. You may be able to break that down. I guarantee you, Bill and I could not break that down.
That's
no shot. No shot.
But, I mean, you've got your Land Grant shirt on. It's a perfect place every Sunday morning to go watch the F1. But that's neither here nor there. At this time next week, we'll be able to break down a game. And there were a couple. I smashed some words together in bold prediction on Friday. And I said there was going to be more on Monday. And it wasn't what I anticipated. I thought that those words would be separate. More on Monday. And then Scott Frost was like, no, watch this. You want something to talk about on More on Monday? Here we go.
Hold my Guinness.
A free Guinness, by the way. We really missed the boat. We should have gone to cover that game.
Yeah, can we get Gene Smith to get Ohio State to play an opener in Ireland, and then maybe also have the beer be free like it was for the Northwestern Nebraska game?
I don't think that the media was drinking free beer. I think they were still working.
I think at a certain point in that game, the Nebraska writers started drinking.
So more on Monday, right? I mean, let's just dive into more on Monday. This is now a thing here on the podcast, right? It has to be.
There's two candidates, and one didn't even coach a game.
Oh, well, I'm just going to pick the obvious one and say it was Scott Frost for kicking an onside kick up 11 points when you're playing a team that had no momentum and couldn't move the ball. And then all of a sudden you said, here, take it at the 40 and score 3 plays later. It was the weirdest thing. I mean, because it was back and forth that entire game, Nebraska and Northwestern, and they get that huge fumble. They score 2 plays later for Nebraska, and you go up 11, and you think, oh, crap, this Northwestern team is probably going to run out of juice here. They weren't doing much in the third quarter up to that point, except for the fumble. And then all of a sudden, you get the ball at the 43 or 45-yard line, and that game was effectively over at that point. And I tweeted it on Saturday after the game, but you don't want to make a big deal about like one bad coaching decision. But since this is now like the 9th straight game that Nebraska has lost by less than a touchdown, I think that there comes a point where you have to point the finger at the coach in that situation, and especially in this one because it was so obviously the wrong call. And I think Scott Frost, I think at this point, unless they go out on this crazy streak and go out and beat Oklahoma next week and do all this other stuff, I think come October 1st when his buyout drops in half to $7.5 million, I think that buyout will be utilized then.
It was, first of all, I feel like I owe probably Northwestern more than anyone an apology, because Austin and I did an episode of the Daily probably a week or two ago where I sort of made fun of the idea that the game we were sending over there was Nebraska Northwestern. It was actually a pretty good game. Like, I was entertained for the entirety of that game. I don't know if it was particularly good football all the time, but it was a good time, a good viewing experience. So I want to give I guess mostly Northwestern credit for that, but Nebraska certainly with its buffoonery, I think, made it a little interesting too. But that onside kick call was something else, and it reminded me of because Ryan Day kicked an onside kick against Maryland in 2019, when he had no business doing so. But I think they were up by like $1 billion when they did that, and I don't think anyone was thinking to themselves, "Boy, Maryland has a chance to get back in this game here." No idea what Scott Frost was doing.
That onside kick was like a bizarre flex to see if they could do something they've been working on in practice. This was a let's get them, boys. And you're not you don't have a team. Yeah, you don't have a team to be like, let's get them at that point when you're in Nebraska and it's your first game with 83 transfers on your team of your 85 players.
That certainly fell into the category of trying too hard. Mm-hmm. And as you said, Berm, to do this 9 straight times, the last team that Nebraska had beat, am I wrong here, was Northwestern, and they beat the brakes off of them last year. It's one of the few times where people are like, there's that Scotty Frost that we know from the 90s. He's going to turn this thing back around for the Huskers. No. This guy, the other thing that you said was, at some point you have to turn the finger at the coach. Nebraska already knows that it has that problem, or it wouldn't have renegotiated his deal and dropped that buyout down for October. I don't like these halfway measures. Nebraska already knows that it's not going to work with Scott Frost, and Trev Alberts seems to recognize that, and everybody around that program seemed to get that after last year, that he just wasn't the guy. And maybe there won't ever be one at Nebraska again that can win national championships. In fact, there have been a lot of conversations about that and how difficult it is to win there. But he's not even close to the level of his predecessors. Not even close. And there's just no way around it. He has to be fired.
Yeah, and before we move on to whoever your choice was for Moron Monday, I think there's actually something he did on Saturday that was dumber than the onside kick, and that was the way he handled it postgame. Like, you knew heading into this offseason, heading into this 2022 season, that your job essentially was on the chopping block, and you were given a reprieve and given this opportunity to bring in Mark Whipple from Pitt and change the offense, and realize the offense had to be changed because your offense didn't work in the Big Ten and no one was getting beaten by it. And then when their offense actually looked somewhat capable for at least the first half on Saturday, he goes out after the game and says, well, this offensive staff needs to learn you got to mix things up in this league, as if to say we needed to run more triple option. Like, what are you talking about? What needed to happen was for you to not give your opponent an easy touchdown when you had all the momentum in the world. And I think if Trev Alberts, the AD at Nebraska, wasn't like boys with Scott Frost, I don't think he would have brought him home from Ireland after making that comment after the game on Saturday.
Can I just quickly give a shout out to all the national writers who picked Nebraska to win the West for some reason? Maybe Adrian Martinez wasn't the problem.
You know, you have to pick a quarterback and run with him, though, right?
Well, that's interesting that you say that, Bern, because there's another candidate emerging without even playing a game over the weekend. Jim Harbaugh has decided that he's going to start one of his quarterbacks in week 1 and a different quarterback in week 2. How he decided that was a good idea, how he decided which one was going to play which game, I don't know. He decided to drop this news on a Saturday night on the In-House Michigan podcast. And I have questions about that as well, and a lot of questions about how he thinks exactly this is going to help Michigan to play the first 2 weeks with 2 different quarterbacks. If Scott Frost was trying too hard with the onside kick, what does that make this decision at the most important position on the field?
Is he just trying to be nice to Cade McNamara and like giving him one last like way to go, buddy? Thanks for last year. But after this first game against, I can't remember who they played. I know they play Hawaii in week 2.
They play Colorado State.
Yeah. After the game against Colorado State, thanks so much. We'll see you later. It's JJ McCarthy time. Is that the idea here?
Or is it the other way? Is it, hey, JJ, we don't want you to transfer, so we're going to do this and let you have a game and a few more weeks to wait and see how things go, because after week 4 you won't be able to transfer or something like that. I mean, I don't understand, period. But there's a lot of things you can say about Cade McNamara as an athlete and the areas where he maybe doesn't stack up to JJ McCarthy, but he is the quarterback that led you to the college football playoff a year ago. Their offense at Michigan should be the part of their team this year that is like more competent than the defense. I think at least that's the expectation for everything that they return. It's such a weird decision to cause this sort of internal strife on a team that was, in the playoff a year ago.
Yeah, I have a very difficult time understanding why, but maybe he'll look like a genius by week 3. I'm skeptical of that part, but we'll see how that plays out, because now we get to actually start evaluating games. The one that we're going to cover on Saturday night now has a spread in some places, Bill, as high as 17.5 points.
Yeah.
You seemed surprised by that when you texted me that earlier.
It seems, well, it does seem high because it's like a helmet game, and I think typically helmet games are a little closer than 17 points. I do think if I assess the nature of both rosters and some of the potential injury situations over on Notre Dame's side, that I suppose it makes sense. But I don't know. Maybe I'm off in thinking that the questions that are kind of hanging in the air for Ohio State are a little more important maybe than the betting public or the public in general sort of believes. But like, that to me is a lot of faith in Ohio State getting its defense figured out fast, and it's a lot of faith in these young receivers stepping in for CJ Stroud or Sir Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave right away and like not skipping a beat. So I don't know. It just feels big. I'm sure it's going to come back down closer to game time. I would think it comes back down closer to game time. But yeah, when I saw that balloon to 17 on Sunday, I was like, "Ooh, that's a lot."
But hasn't it gone up like 3.5 points in the last week? I mean, what's the explanation and or rationale for thinking it'll drop back down? I mean, is that just people hedging bets? Also, this is a good time to remind people I don't know gambling, so like
I was about to add that disclaimer right now.
Like, I don't know. I'm just
who
trying
hasn't
to
followed us before.
I don't understand at all what that means. Like, number one, you can't have a half point, people. Come on, America. But beyond that, I just look at it and I think to myself, if you stack the teams up 1 to 85, 1 to 85, Ohio State, with everything they have, returning healthy, bringing everyone back, they're not missing key components at offense like Notre Dame is with their wide receiver situation. I think this is an Ohio State team that should win by 3 touchdowns. So I guess I don't see the big deal with 17.5.
Well, I think that's the realization that's coming in, that's inflating this line. You know, I always like to boil it down to 3 things: who you think is more skilled as the head coach, who has the better quarterback, and where is the game. All 3 things dramatically favor Ohio State. And that's without going 1 through 85, where I also think that there's a wide disparity between these 2 rosters. I think, everybody wants, as Bill said, it's 2 of the most prestigious programs in college football history playing an opening game in prime time in one of the most famous stadiums in college football. You'd like to think that it's top 5, going to be close. It's going to be an epic battle. I don't see it that way. You have a new starting quarterback for Notre Dame. You have a first-time head coach who has, had some fits and starts, just managing the offseason and sticking his foot in his mouth at various times. And then they've got to take him on the road without a bunch of key players from that roster a year ago for them. And Ohio State, for all of the knowledge that we have about some specific areas where we're probably just comparing them to Alabama, at least in my mind, and in all fairness to that, they don't have actual questions in my mind when it comes to, are they good enough to blow out Notre Dame or beat Notre Dame? Because I think that's pretty obvious. Doesn't mean that they will on Saturday, but to me, it seems like everything points to that, and the spread also strongly hammers at that point home as well.
I think I understand gambling a little bit. The total I think is like 58 or 58.5. So the total and the spread combined is like 38 to 20.
38-20, yeah.
38-20 game.
That's not right.
I was going to say, I know I'm not saying we need to give score predictions right now, but the way that you feel about it makes me think that you believe this will be much more lopsided than 38-20.
That is how I feel. And we'll get to that on Friday for bold predictions. And maybe I will be a featured topic on Moron Monday a week from now, but we will find out. To me, it doesn't check out. I don't know what that defense is going to look like, but I just don't think that Notre Dame has the answers for anything Ohio State could do defensively.
Isn't this just a situation where we see the preseason polls, we see 2 and 5, we think that it's going to be a close game just internally because of that, but like we're Vegas, the dudes out there are smarter than coaches and media members who are voting on these things? I mean, generally,
are they smarter?
I think generally speaking, they are. They make a butt ton of money doing this stuff, and they're very rarely wrong. So you think that they probably have a fairly good idea of why it's that high. So I would tend to go that direction, I guess, and thinking that those guys know what they're talking about.
How much is a butt ton?
144 pounds, 144 tons.
That's a lot of tons.
Yeah,
very confusing.
Yeah.
Another thing that we like to do on Mondays is dive in with 5 questions. I will have that on Rivals, dotting the I's. You have one question that you want answered by Ohio State on Saturday. Bill, what is it?
I'll go with something that I plan on writing about this week too. It's like how much CJ Stroud uses his legs. I've been diving in on those numbers a little bit, and it's kind of to compare the amount that he ran to his predecessors at the position is like kind of hysterical. It's like it's an unbelievable drop off, and it's not surprising, but it is pretty stark. It's more stark than I thought it would be, even compared to a guy like Dwayne Haskins. I think he's going to do it more. I was thinking back on a conversation I had with Ryan Day in his office back in May, where Ryan Day, we were talking about the run game, and he sort of went out of his way to mention CJ using his legs more and how much they can be a weapon. So I don't think Ryan Day says things that aren't purposeful when he's talking about stuff like that. So I think it's something that they have in the back of their mind, and I'm curious how much they unleash it on Saturday.
For me, it actually goes back to other things we've heard and seen from Ryan Day in the last 9 months. And this is a guy who at times has been in a relatively dark place, I guess, in the last handful of months after the way last season ended. I want to see Ohio State. I want to know if they can come out and just put a foot on the throat of their opponent and keep it there for an entire game. And dominate the way they should, because what we know about Ohio State is that they are one of the top 3 or 4 teams in the country talent-wise. I want to see an aggressive, absolute dominant performance out of a team. Every year we watch Alabama open the season against a team that we think is going to be fairly decent, and every year they go out there and beat them by 40 or 45 points, and I think Ohio State has the talent to do that. The offense at Ohio State is the best in the country. The defense should be markedly improved. I think just knowing that they have an edge to them, and I don't like that term because it sounds so cliche, and I know Ryan Day's used it all off season, but I want to see them come out with just their hair on fire and just blow the doors off of Notre Dame. I don't think it should be a close game, and I want to see them execute it at that high level.
Yeah, I was going along those lines as well, Berm. It's the sustained competitive toughness. I think that when they come out of that tunnel and they know what's at stake and they see the opponent they have out there, it's not going to be hard for Ohio State to get up for that and to probably come out of the gates really strong. It's the ability, as you said, to play for 4 quarters at that championship level, to send a message. They don't have a lot of opportunities. I mean, really, when you look at the schedule, it's 3, 4, maybe 5 times where you have a chance to prove it and show how good you are and send those message, if we're going to dive into all those cliches. But, the ability to do that from start to finish and set a tone for the entire season, I think is important. If they want a closer game, would that mean that they can't win a national championship? Of course not. But I think after this long offseason, the way that they had it and everything that's been sitting in their stomachs since last November, to go out and play a full 60 minutes at the level that they expect and the standard that they are trying to uphold, I think that would be significant. And again, I obviously don't think Notre Dame can win this game, and I've made that clear throughout. It's the way that Ohio State plays that I think we're going to be evaluating. That's the way it always goes for this team.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's going to come down to, as we've talked about all offseason, just toughness. And toughness is not just how you handle getting punched at the line of scrimmage. It's about how you bounce back if Notre Dame comes out in that first drive and scores a touchdown, and how does the defense stop themselves from going, oh crap, here we go again. I mean, that sort of stuff that you just have to worry about. And you hope that this entire offseason has helped eradicate from their memory. But you're a competitive person, and once you start to get in that position where the juices are going, you got to be able to keep swinging for that whole game. And so, I think that to me is the biggest question. Can they prove it immediately. The entire country is going to be watching that game. Anything Ohio State does wrong or any moment of doubt, anything where it doesn't look like they're one of the 2 or 3 best teams in the country is going to be amplified in a way that will haunt them pretty much the entire season, I think. So you got to really hammer it on Saturday.
Yeah. You guys going to go over and listen to the Jack Harlow concert before the game or what?
I don't know who Jack Harlow is. I saw that tweet, but that was I guess I needed to do my research or get 20 years younger. I'm not sure. Is that part of your plan for Saturday, Bill?
You could offer me $1 million to name one Jack Harlow song and give me the rest of my life to figure it out, and I couldn't do it.
I want to just be very clear that I am as hip a 43-year-old white dude as there can possibly be, and I don't know who Jack Harlow is.
I often think that about you.
Yeah, and I don't know who that is. I don't know who it is, and I feel bad. Maybe I'll download something on Shazam after this and see. All the hip 43-year-old white dudes use Shazam still. So I'm gonna
wait. And you can actually use Shazam to download songs. Is that your understanding?
Yeah, I have like
Mr. Hip Dude.
I have like a beta version of it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Good.
I don't know who Jack Harlow is, but I'm sure he makes wonderful music. I just feel like if you're going to have game day at Ohio Stadium when Ohio State and Notre Dame are playing and like LeBron James is going to be there, you should probably have LeBron James be your guest picker or something like that. I don't know. That's just my personal.
It's a pretty lame guest picker. Like I looked him up. He's from Kentucky. I think he has nothing to do with either. Maybe he's a Notre Dame fan because most people are for no reason. Like why? I feel like the last 2 major games they've had in Ohio Stadium, the guest pickers have had like nothing to do with either team. It was Jack Harlow and it's like Bryce Harper, who I love and I would die for, but he is not an Ohio State. He is not an Ohioan. He's married to an Ohio State grad, and that is why he got to pick games on College Game Day.
I think,
but at least he roots for Ohio State. We know that.
That's allegedly.
Ooh. Are you casting doubts on Bryce Harper?
Is there some sort of fracture in the Landis Harper relationship?
No, I'm just saying he's Bryce Harper likes Bryce Harper, so anything Bryce Harper can do to get people to like Bryce Harper more, Bryce Harper's going to do it.
Well, even if you could, you're looking for a musical act. It's not like there's some shortage of people from Columbus that they could use. I don't really understand. If they asked OAR to show up on 1 hour's notice, I think they would. And then people would be like, hey, even if you don't like that music, I don't know what Jack Harlow's music is, but like, oh, that's OAR. They went to Ohio State. They're Buckeyes fans. They wrote a song about Columbus. That makes sense for game day. There's just no tie here. I don't get it at all.
Hey, did you know that Dwight Yoakam went to Ohio State for a semester?
Really?
Bring Dwight Yoakam on this show. Or 21 Pilots, or the Black Keys, or anyone else other than Jack Harlow. That's all.
You know who's a native son of Columbus who could pick games on game day? Guy Fieri.
Fieri.
Flavortown.
Welcome to
Flavortown.
Flavortown.
We should probably put an end to this.
I think
I got 5 more minutes on Guy Fieri.
Yeah, you can tell how quickly Bill has acclimated to our brand of nonsense that he started this.
Yeah,
by bringing up Jack Harlow. I love that.
Well,
it's
the podcast.
Hey,
is fully part of his life now.
What if the 3 of us make it a deal that we're all going to learn one Jack Harlow song by the time we return for the podcast daily on Tuesday?
Learn it, like be able to sing it or rap it, or
we're going to karaoke down the show.
Whatever it is that he does, I don't.
Yeah. Does he rap or does he sing, or is he one of those like hybrid guys?
We'll find out.
Oh, cool. Thanks, America. You really did it this time.
Okay. Well, this will be a fun activity. I don't know how Bill is. Berman and I have been road tripping together for many years. He and I are both very skilled at learning lyrics in a hurry. So pressure could be on Bill Landis.
Yeah, and I've got a 3-hour drive down to Roosters on Monday morning. So
no.
I'll probably come in with like a whole album memorized. It's going to be pretty cool.
Look forward to that as part of our coverage all week. Saturday, Notre Dame at Ohio State in the Horseshoe. We obviously cannot wait. We've got a lot of coverage planned for you, as we always do, both at the podcast and on Dotting the I's. Hope you're as excited as we are for it. That's Bill Burham. I'm Austin. We will see you tomorrow on the podcast daily.